Hello everyone and welcome to episode 12 of the Time In podcast. I am today's host Bundy. We are of course joined by Ewan. How are you?
Not bad, mate. How are you?
I'm very well. And Craig, how are you?
How we doing, boys? I'm all good. How are you to?
Very good, Craig.
Very good. Sunny weekend, thankfully.
I have got a couple questions for you. One, the most important question of the day. Ewan, what are you drinking?
I'm mixing it up. I've got a spirit for a change. I've got a wee Disaronno and Coke. But that being said, I tried a lovely beer, courtesy of Mr. Bundy.
Oh, hello.
Wee 4-pack of Modelo's they brought round the other day. They were really nice, actually. Beer I've never tried.
And Craig?
I'm on a glass of water again, boys.
I don't think that's allowed 2 weeks in a row.
No, listen, right? It was my dad's birthday. I took him out to Dundee. We got the train up, and I took him round some of the nicer bars in Dundee, and we ended up finishing in the King of Islington, which is a rum bar. And you go in, and they actually ask you what sort of flavours, what sort of taste you enjoy, and they cater to that. So it's almost like a tasting, and they make a drink to your needs. It's really cool, really cool. So I've drank a lot of straight spirit today, so I'm allowed a water.
Then my other question is then, Craig.
What are you drinking, Bundy? Because that's a valid one.
What are you drinking?
Because I can. No, it's no nice.
Well, so I forgot to go and get alcohol, right? So then I was at my dad's, and he was like, "Oh, remember, there's that Firefly moonshine that you ordered," and I was like, "Oh, hi." So then I didn't really want to walk from his house down to my house with a bottle of moonshine in my hand. So I decided to put it into a coffee cup and walk down with that.
That doesn't make it any better.
It's suspicious because it hates coffee.
Exactly.
He came in with a coffee cup, I thought,
The thing is as well, it's like, it was probably like half a jug, so the coffee cup was half full because it's not obviously a massive jug. And I have drank a fair amount, and I've already asked Ewan for lemonade because...
it buckled partway through.
I'm feeling it already. Anyway, Craig, about your water, is it Evian? Is it Buxton?
It's tap water, boys.
Oh, even
that's
better.
good. If you say glass Highland Spring, we're going to call you a Tory.
That's exactly. But that's pretty much what I was looking for there. But
if you drink sparkling water, you're not from Manchester and above.
That's
anything below Manchester sparkling water, that's when it's allowed. But anything above Manchester sparkling water is not allowed.
I'm happy with that. That's a demographic I'm happy with. Right. So first we are going to talk a wee bit about what today's topic is, and that is the King of Games, and not Yu-Gi-Oh. We are going to be discussing our favourite games, why they're our favourite games, and trying to kind of sell each other those games, because it turns out we are actually picking all quite different games. So if you do hear any games that you would like, feel free to either reach out on the socials, Twitter, Instagram, anything like that at all, and then let us know what you think. One thing that I would also like to touch on is the streams. Myself, I have been continuing the Ghost of Tsushima stream. Ewan is doing the Skyrim DLCs from last episode, since we told him he was a heathen for not playing them.
Yep, I've made a start. It's going okay. I had Craig abusing me while I was streaming because it was that bad.
I did not abuse you.
My favourite bit was, back in a minute, I need a drink.
It was actually like, I didn't, because I like put, and I was honestly almost watching both chat and Ewan play at the same time, because it was like Ewan would run past somebody and Craig would be like, turn left, get the shout. Like,
hit the lever. And bearing in mind, the chat comes 30 seconds after what I'm actually doing.
Oh, the delay was brutal. Try to see him scale a mountain to try to get in this game. It took him about 20 minutes, and I was like, I need a fucking drink.
Before I started, I read the the DLC should only take about 8 hours. I thought, I'll break it into 8 chunks. After 1 hour, I'd cleared one fucking cave because it took me that long.
That's been quite enjoyable, so if you can, obviously tune into that. And then Craig has been streaming a fair few different games, but obviously he's been streaming Skyrim. He's also been streaming Rocket League and Minecraft. Very worth it. And I have also not said this to Craig or Ewan yet, so this is a podcast exclusive. If we can manage to get it to work, hopefully we'll be able to not just put it on YouTube, but maybe even stream something like Scribble.
Yeah,
That's good thinking.
I can do that. Yeah.
One of our friends, Dan, I was speaking to today, and he said he would really like to play Scribble with us at some point. So we'll get that recorded and on YouTube, because that's actually been one of the most popular videos.
And
Dan will get us in some sort of register though.
yes, the Hot 100 register, because we are going to be massive. No, I'm kidding.
Tell us how this topic came about, because that was quite good.
Yeah, so we're
arguing the whole night.
we were kind of just like talking. We were actually talking on the group chat. We weren't even on Xbox or anything like that. And I was talking about. This is also my first game, so I've been playing Ghost of Tsushima. Streamed it as well, and I've not even finished it yet. But as I said to the other hosts, I think I'm pretty much at the finishing line. If it continues and if it ends even average, it is easily the greatest game I've ever played. And for me, yeah, that is like very high praise. My top 5 never changed for a good like 5-6 years. And then now we have probably one of my favourite games, because it incorporates everything that I like. It's obviously the Japanese culture. The art style is really cool. It's made by Sucker Punch, who done like Infamous, which is kind of they've always had really good graphics and stuff. It is just such a stunningly beautiful game.
It looks incredible. Like obviously, I don't have a PlayStation, so I don't have the ability to play it. But watching your stream, what a pretty game!
It's just unreal. Like it's like regions are kind of similar, but very different at the same time. Like you can be, so there's basically two parts of an island. It's kind of like it's split into 3, but the second part is got like a kind of like channel that you go over. So it's kind of like 2 islands, but the top half of the northern island is covered in snow. Whereas like the bottom half of the southern island is completely like grass and green and loads of like almost kind of foresty or jungly. And then it very, very gradually changes as you go up, and then as soon as you get to the kind of northern regions, the change that they've done, because in games like Skyrim, for example, where you've got like loads of different things, and you load into a city and it's like snow, you load in, it's desert. With this one, you can genuinely see like there's like the actual transition with the like the snow on top of certain stones, because it's higher than other parts, and it's just really, really cool.
Customization was what surprised me, because it's not the type of game you would typically get. It's customization. Because of that, the only thing that holds it back is the fact it's a PS4 exclusive.
They've done it really, really weirdly for customization, because I think I don't know for sure, because as I say, I've got a feeling there's going to be some secret sets, but I think there's roughly about 8 sets of armour, roughly. And there's only 3 parts you equip, which is your armour, which incorporates everything other than your helmet, which is the second, and then the mask, which is the third. And even though you've only got 3 options to change, you can genuinely customise it really, really well. There's also very different styles, so you can get like the typical kind of samurai armour, where it's like the kind of really like flat shoulder pads, and it's got like the tassels hanging all over it. It's got the kind of, it's all intertwined by rope. Or you've also then got the kind of very like classic samurai style, where it's like the robes and like almost like a long kind of skirt, and it's just really, really cool the way that they do it and the way that they've approached it. But the fact that there's only 3 things to change, and then they've basically done shaders as well, typically same at Destiny, where you can change the colour scheme on all 3. And it's just really, really cool, because I never thought I thought that was going to be a downside, if it's not like the lack of customization, but absolutely not.
So what kind of people would you recommend this game to?
Well, that's what I was going to say, because I think depending on if you like single player games, 100% play it. If you're anything into in terms of like Japanese culture, or even just that kind of samurai style, anything like that at all, you really like it. But I think it probably mostly appeals to people who like a really fluid combat single player open world game, because the combat is probably the best thing in it. It's similar to Dark Souls, because it's got like a parry system, everything like that, but you still have a skill tree. You actually have numerous skill trees, you have like the stances, which are just the way that you fight. So if I'm fighting a spearman, I want to be in the wind stance, where if I'm fighting a swordman, I want to be in the stone stance, and you change them in the middle of fighting, and when you level them up, if someone goes to hit you and you change to the stance to fight them, you'll kind of automatically parry it and stuff like that.
Aye.
So it makes it really fluid. It's not like, alright, stop, change, and then continue. It's so fluid. But yeah, anyone who likes just a really good combat style, open world, adventure kind of combat game is going to be really interesting.
See, it's like the case of, do you know when someone's talking about you, but they don't want to say they're talking about you, so they don't say your name? Literally, you've said someone who enjoys adventure games, combat games, someone who enjoys Japanese culture. Bearing in mind, I work for a Japanese company and love Japanese culture. I'm a bit like, Monday, just say my name, it's fine. I'll play it. I'll eventually play it. Because to me, it looks incredible.
PS4s are relatively cheap at the moment, in terms of how much a console costs.
Dependent on, because what I would honestly, and this is how good the game is, right? I would honestly give someone a PlayStation, like my PlayStation 4 to borrow, for them to play it. So if you want to do that, Greg, you're more than welcome, because and that's my most hated thing about it, is the fact that it's a PlayStation exclusive, because if that was on Xbox as well, that would be unbelievable. I only found out today, actually, that it broke a record for PlayStation, and it is the fastest selling single party PlayStation exclusive.
See, that always blows my mind, because see, when you think about it, see if you're bringing a game out and you make it a console exclusive, straight away you're halving how many people can play that. So the amount of money they must be given to make that viable. So you're saying nobody will play it on PC, nobody will play it on Xbox. Say that's 60% straight away. So that whatever you make, PlayStation or Sony are going to double it plus more to make that viable. That is just, and the worst thing is it limits it for players.
And the thing is, and so if anyone gets the chance and they don't think they're going to be able to play it, maybe they don't own a PlayStation or whatever, watch either our stream of it or Mr. Fruits. It's on his Mr. Fruit channel. I will always name drop him regardless, because he's such a good streamer.
Yes, he's funny.
Or YouTuber, whatever you want to class him as. But
it's crazy what Ewan was saying. Sorry to interject a little bit, Monday, but see what you're saying about how you kind of shoot yourself in the foot with having exclusives. It just makes you think how much money are the likes of Xbox, Microsoft, etc., or Sony paying these people to do it as exclusive. Because I can't remember the monetary value, but when the console editions of Minecraft came out, Xbox got it exclusive way before PlayStation, and there was this big hoo-ha. But Microsoft, obviously, we then found out they would eventually own Minecraft because they eventually bought it.
Yeah.
But what sort of money did they pay for that?
See, I find it's ridiculous amounts, but I find that a bit different, because at least at some point it did come out on other consoles, and it was on PC before. Whereas, see if you limit it forever, like for example, somebody who's never got to get a PS4 has never got to play so many good games.
I think that's kind of, and I think I don't know the studio that done Horizon Zero Dawn, but Horizon Zero Dawn was a PlayStation exclusive for quite some time, and then only now as it went to PC. And I don't know if it's just me and I've maybe got it completely wrong, but I personally think that the studio that made it had maybe like a time limit on it being exclusive, and then were able to put it to PC, because they've obviously still not put it to Xbox. I don't think I ever will come to Xbox, but they're basically going to get a second release of the same game, which is again probably one of the best games to come out in recent years. And they're just going to make an absolute bomb. That's
after getting the exclusive payout, which presumably is less if it's time limited.
Even if you've done, I think it was 24 million copies, Tsushima or something like that was sold, was something crazy. Okay. It was either 2.4 or 2.24, one of the two. But say you take 24 as the number. If you have that in sales for Horizon Zero Dawn, and then they match that because they want to make it exclusive, and then later on you release that on PC, then you get another 24. You've basically tripled your money from what you would have initially done if you hadn't released it exclusive.
Yeah.
So it also technically, if you make a good enough game, will benefit you to actually make it exclusive at the same time.
But to the detriment of the people that want to play it, which is reputational damage. It's hard to put a monetary value to that.
Can I ask a quick question, because obviously I feel as that you're going to move us on a little bit, but so I'm already sold in the game. I watched your footage on Twitch. I thought it was incredible. I haven't actually obviously handled the game, so I don't know about the gameplay. But from visual aesthetic, it looks amazing. But for you, if you were to sell it to me, what's the one big selling point or the one big hook that you'd say, Craig, you need to play Ghost of Tsushima because what's one big hook you could give me?
So I won't drop any spoilers, right? So this is spoiler free, but I'm also at the same time going to tell you like the feelings that you get from the story. So if you don't want to know the feelings of the story, it's a feeling spoiler. But so not even so in there's side quests that are proper side quests. Then there's like your kind of like companions and their tales. So you'll have people helping you, and you can do tales that kind of progress their story. But there's a certain tale, and it's actually what brought this topic on, because it encompasses love, a forbidden love, a love even though forbidden never ever died, dementia, death, and then like will carried on, all in one, and it's 2 missions. And at the end, I sat, no lie, no exaggeration, minimum 15 minutes thinking like, holy shit. Like, holy shit. It was probably the most poignant, meaningful, life learning thing I've ever seen in any game ever. It was just unbelievable. Like, even thinking about it, I'm like, holy shit.
So what you're saying in simple terms is the emotional attachment.
100%. There's just the quality of the story and how they can tackle all of those different subjects at once and make it something that. And I looked online and people were like, "I have not stopped crying," and I was like, "I don't blame you."
Okay, I think you've done well with that actually.
No, that's a good pitch for the game. Definitely.
So, Craig.
Yes, my friend.
One of your favourite games of all time could be in that? I want you to do kind of the same. Sell it to me. Tell me what
there's an obvious disclosure you need to make.
Oh, that's true.
I am in no right going to mention Skyrim. I have been banned. I will not mention Skyrim. Please listen to episode 11 where we discuss Skyrim, and I almost have a heart attack with excitement. And one thing I will share is that we have a certain photo of today's host Monday that revolves around that episode that will be getting shared in the future when we do face release and show who we are. But anyway, so obviously you've kind of says for us to look at maybe 2 options starting of all and then talk about some honourable mentions. My first one is the simple reason for this. It is, for me, the most creative game ever made because its opportunities are endless. You can do anything with it. And this is where I upset anyone over the ages of 10. It's Minecraft. Now, bear with me. So, if I'm right in saying, and if my notes are accurate, Minecraft was released in 2009.
Yep, that would be right, aye.
2009. I can still remember, I was at a friend's house, a guy called Kenneth that hosts Show X podcast, give him some love. I was over at his, and he was pissing about with this thing, and there was only 3 blocks within the game. There was cobblestone, stone, and grass. And he was building this big tower and stuff. I was like, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "Oh, it's this guy's project. He's on a GoFundMe. He's making this game." And I was like, "Right, okay." And he's like, "Have a shot." And with 3 blocks, honestly, you'd think you'd give me the best game ever made. And it was that creative aspect that I've never had in a game before, and it is going back to, and you hear this term all the time with Minecraft, and it's that Lego aspect when you're a kid.
Mm-hmm. That's what it is. It's modern day Lego.
Yeah, and for me, I still play it to this day. That's what 11 years I've probably played that, possibly 12 because I played it in beta before it was actually released. Mm-hmm. And I can go down the route of if I want to go for sort of a high difficulty survival aspect, which Bundy and I have done a lot of, or if I want to go full out creative, it's that game that you can almost do it in any way, and because of the mod format as well, I just really enjoy it. Again, I know it gets the hearsay about being a kids game and you can do A, B, and C with it, but for me, it's a game I'll always go back to and I'll always enjoy. I don't think it matters what age you are. And you look at the power of it. There was an example of, I can't remember if it was Sweden or the States, bear with me, but there was people doing like lessons on how to
Architecture.
Architecture.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bunny. Yeah, they were given architecture courses through Minecraft, which is just bonkers. And it's just that game. I don't want to go into it too much. My selling point for you guys, and I know you guys have both played it, and you're obviously not a biggest fan as myself and Bundy.
Not as much, no.
But for me, the big selling point is you can play that game any way you want, and you can make it a number of different games. Like you can say, on you go, jump in.
I'm sorry, I've now you've said that, I remembered an interview. You know Jack, mate, how he does a happy hour podcast.
Happy hour, yeah.
He got Vicstar on. Now, bearing in mind, Vicstar has made 3 million off Minecraft servers, which is scary.
I know, isn't it?
He said, if you look at a lot of games, they were all made in Minecraft first, as a game mode in Minecraft in a private game.
Yeah.
He went, Battle Royales, he went, they came from like mucking around in Minecraft. He went, that was the first one he played. Then it went to
It was the Hunger Games. It was the Hunger Games
that
mod.
was it. Then it went to something, then PUBG, and PUBG, then Fortnite, and then he said it just progressed.
And then Daisy.
And he said
Daisy,
it was just incredible. That's actually came from this. You can make any game mode you like in Minecraft if you want.
Yeah, that's a selling point for me. As much as I didn't go into as much detail as Ghost of Tsushima, it's that I think it'll be a game in the next 10 years. I think it'll still be going. I know they're talking about there's new updates and new projects coming out for very similar platform games, but the opportunities with it are endless. You can do anything with it. And you know I love a wee factoid. So I've actually got you some Minecraft facts, nothing too major.
Go for it.
Do you know what the original game was going to be called?
Craft Mine.
It was going to be called Cave Game. Which is funny.
I like it.
I'm pretty used Bundy has used that as a pickup line for some woman, but that's
But I go
that's
home
another.
and play the cave game.
Well,
I've only got a couple other ones. Do you know the Enderman language? If you've played the game, the Endermans are creepy as fuck.
Yeah.
Do you know it's just English backwards? And what they're generally saying is, "Will you be my friend?" And it's just played backwards.
Didn't know that.
see, that makes me
and then
feel
I've got-
more creeped out instead of like, oh, I'm more creeped.
Makes you feel a bit guilty as
Will
well.
you be my friend?
Even worse for noises, the noises of ghasts in the Nether, which is screeching,
Oh my God.
is actually voiced by cats.
That does not surprise me because I hate the cats and I hate those noises.
Fucking hate cats as well. That's a strange thing.
Nah.
Tell you,
And the
it's
one,
that's one of the only games that must appeal for ages 3 to 103.
aye, no, I would agree. And then, see, people kind of go at me about the whole graphics thing, and I know we've touched on this in previous podcasts. Graphics don't matter, and then I get the whole, how can Minecraft be so hard to process and how so hard to run? It's so simple. If you think one block is 1 meter cubed,
Yeah.
I don't know what that is in value of data, but I can't remember what it is, but you think how vast and how big you can make things within that game.
Yeah.
It can be huge. But simple answer from me, guys, Minecraft, and my selling point is it's a game that you can do whatever you want and you can always go back to, and look what it's done for the gaming franchise as a whole.
Oh, I agree. It's almost added a completely new category, if you like.
And they also started cross-platform, and that's another great point.
I rate that as well.
And then, so just another factoid on Minecraft, because I seen two, right? So, in order to walk across the entire Minecraft world, someone done it and it took them 820 hours.
Wow.
And then someone then said, like, I wonder what that is, like, in real life.
So 820 hours worth of walking would equate to...
Well, no, because, like, the blocks and, like, how
right,
far
yeah.
they are, and they were like, so I wonder how far, like, that is in real life. And someone on Reddit commented on it, and they were like, oh, cool, so I've done this maths, posted their maths, and it would be something crazy, like 68 million like miles, basically. So you would never, no one would ever be, no one or no thing could ever do that. There's not a chance.
Is it not endless now, though? I'm pretty sure the map now
That
can
would just be why they
continuously
want to
generate, depending.
Yeah, keep
Well,
expanding.
I think like because the way they done it is as far as I'm aware, based on that fact. I don't know how current it is, but they were saying that because you can't even with the best PCs, it'll have a limit to what it can take.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, this guy's PC and the one that done it, the one that took him 820 hours, he would could no longer pretty much randomly generate It took up that much space. But when you think about 800 and something hours, like
Sick enough.
that's a
nuts.
long time. That's a lot of data.
It's a boring stream.
Well, that's like when No Man's Sky first came out and someone streamed himself flying to the centre because they said that's impossible and they actually did it. And it was like it was only like 72 hours and you think to yourself, 72, 800?
No bad.
And then Ewan, hit me with what one of your favourite games, what's their selling point?
Well, similarly to Craig, I would probably go with Destiny 2, but seeing as it's got its own episode, we can probably leave that
You're
there.
banned.
I know. I mean,
It's banned.
all the reasons for Skyrim and Destiny 2, you'll get that if you go back to those ones. For me, my game is probably going to be Call of Duty. I won't name one, but I'll just say the most up-to-date one, because seeing as there's a new one every year, which is what I would consider a downside. So, straight away, understandably, some people didn't like first-person shooters. However, there's very few that are this good, and COD is widely recognised as the most successful game in the world, and other first-person shooters are measured against it in a way. It's got a good campaign, so it has got a single-player element, although there's years where you can play COD and never play the campaign because the multiplayer's that good.
I always do it first. I batter it out like as soon as possible because I know if I don't do that, I'm never going to play it.
Yeah, and then obviously you've got wave-based modes, and those vary with different Call of Duties because you get zombies, you get Spec Ops, and they're all good. Don't get me wrong, zombies became like an entity on its own. Multiplayer is probably the biggest thing with COD. It's competitive. It's great with the class setup. The gunplay is phenomenal. It's just a great game.
Even when you look at the fact that the multiplayer, the competitive multiplayer scene for Call of Duty is one of the biggest scenes and probably has like elevated even just the kind of culture and now with streamers and stuff because people like Courage JD, he originally was a caster for the CDL. Nade Shot, again, he was a professional player. He's now the owner of 100 Thieves. Scump, everyone knows who Scump is, probably the greatest Call of Duty player of all time. And then you've got people like Hex, which again he ran Optic, again massive gaming organisation who competed and won multiple tournaments. And that's going back as well, say early as
went back before
2015.
like proper multiplayer because you had, was it Game Battles, the website, and you could arrange private matches against other teams and have tournaments and stuff.
Even people like Nade Shot being a good example, he streamed when Twitch was just in .tv. So that was 2010 roughly, and then obviously he was huge. A lot of the FaZe guys also really big in because they were probably a lot of people don't put the FaZe name to the videos, but they were the sniping montage YouTube videos. That was them, like that. All the trick shots, they were FaZe Temper.
Do you know what's really funny? Sorry to interject. See, with the whole trick shots, do you know who the first person was to start doing the YouTube videos?
Who?
Is it Vixstar?
No, it was Zerka from the Sidemen.
Oh, was it? I know he's a big COD streamer.
So if you look at the numbers of the Sidemen, they're obviously massive now, and he's at the bottom, unfortunately. But at the start, in the early days of YouTube, he was massive, and it was because of his COD YouTube clips.
If you watch him, he's still incredible.
But what I was going to say is, see, like, I don't play COD. You guys know. The only thing I'd really look at COD was probably be zombies. But from what you guys are saying, and you'll know better than me, it sounds like COD's the game that started esports.
I would say Halo was probably up there. There's a lot of them at that time. COD was one of them, and it was a big one.
I would say Halo probably was the start of competitive esports on a bigger scale.
Or Counter-Strike.
Like Halo and Counter-Strike definitely, but I think Halo was the bigger scale because that's when people started like actually wanting to watch it. Even streamers like Ninja came from Halo competitive, and then I think Call of Duty then took it from still being something that was considered like at that point to a different level, and that's why now, because I remember everyone thought 100 Thieves was going to have a franchise CDL team, but they came out and they were like, the Call of Duty, well, Activision Blizzard or Call of Duty, whatever you want to class it as, can you guess roughly how much they wanted for you to own a team for 1 year?
No idea.
Don't know.
It's something nuts.
$1 million to run a team. You also then have to pay your players. You have to go to these hotels, go to these events, everything like that. Fair enough, you can win money, and you'll probably hopefully your team will win, and you can kind of recoup some costs that way. But you're never going to win $1 million worth in that. So that's why what he said was it's just not a good idea financially for a company that is still in its early years. So, it's incredible what that game has done.
Yeah. So the biggest aspect of it I wanted to speak about is arguably the newest. It's Warzone, which is the Battle Royale game mode. Currently, it's by far the best Battle Royale game out there. In my opinion, it's free to play. Yep, so you don't need COD to play it. There's a huge amount of customisation catering to any playstyle, any first-person shooter playstyle. There's an abundance of advice and tips online. If you look at people like Benny Central or Vicstar, you can learn what the meta is, how to use different weapons, tactics, all that sort of thing. And it's one of the more enjoyable games to watch on YouTube and Twitch. And I'd argue it's very easy to get good at. It's quite accessible. The only thing I would say is difficult is because of the size of the map. Sort of learning rotations and hotspots, if you like, and it's constantly changing now.
And I think that's why it's good to watch. It's such a fast-paced game. It's not I think the only other game that was probably just as fast-paced, if not faster, was Apex Legends.
Yeah.
Because people, that was their complaint while I've been watching Fortnite, is that you could
slow it down.
Yeah, it would be a massive build battle. That battle would end, and then you'd have to then go and find another team. Whereas you've hit the nail on the head there with your Warzone explanation, but it is literally a case of it's something that you can pick up, you can start playing. You will be absolutely horrible to start with, but once if you properly try and learn, right, these are the areas that I can drop it. They've got good loot. It's got good cash. I can then get a loadout. I'm prioritising the loadout before anything else. Then I want to get UAVs. I need to make sure my perks are correct, and it's stuff that's actually really detailed that you probably don't even think about, which makes it really cool.
You had such a good opportunity to plug there and say, once you put the time in. I was just waiting for it. I was like, go on, buddy. Go on, get the brander in.
I mean, Craig, you've never played Warzone. I don't think you've played this COD at all.
No, the last Call of Duty I played was Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah, so it's been a while. So, for example, how accessible is this? It's a completely free game. Lots of people play. I reckon you could watch a few videos online to see the pros play it, like Vicstar, that kind of thing. You could jump on with me and Bundy, and we could jump into trios. And obviously it caters to solos, duos, trios and quads. And you could quite easily pick it up and get good at it. And I do think it's one of those games that's enjoyable when you've got a team. Less enjoyable when you're playing solo, but the communication aspect is great. There's helicopters from mobility, and there's vehicles that you can get around the map in. You've got you can build up money by finding it in floor loot, or you can kill people and take their money, and you can buy stuff like kill streaks, or like UAVs, airstrikes, or a loadout drop. So rather than picking up floor loot, you can actually choose the guns you want, ones that you've unlocked and customised yourself. So you could have a sniper and an auto rifle. You could have the ghost perk so you don't show up on UAVs. And because of that, it makes it almost like you can play any way you like, and that's usually the goal. You get some money, you get a loadout. Once you're all set with loadouts, you get kill streaks, and then you start hunting down teams and trying to get a high position, because as the game goes on, with all battle royales, the zone that you're playing within gets smaller. The context of this is that there's a gas cloud coming in and it's poisonous gas, so eventually shrinks and condenses everyone into a smaller and smaller area until you're the last person or team alive.
The cool thing is as well is it kind of goes hand in hand with multiplayer, because if a gun comes out in one of the seasons for the battle pass or whatever else, and you unlock it, you're probably not going to take that into Warzone on its own. You're going to have to then play multiplayer to unlock the attachments and stuff in order to have that gun be the best gun. And then, fair enough, a lot of the time it is just shipment 24/7 that you look for, but it still makes you play multiplayer, so it's they go hand in hand quite well. But I think Warzone, even on its own, aside from everything else that's part of the Call of Duty umbrella, is really good for content, because you have things or for example, streamers like Basically I Do Work, a guy called Marcel, and a couple of other guys like Courage JD or Legion, who is probably one of the funniest out there. They all do challenge ones, so it's win with only a riot shield or swords, or it's like you have to win without getting a kill, stuff like that, and you're like, oh, this will be actually like interesting. Like, how do they do it? And then you've also then got like people like Nick Merckx, who he was running what they call the M-Fam gauntlets, because he calls his fans the M-Fam. And then he was putting on these tournaments, and it was doing so well that Activision have now partnered with Nick Merckx, and they're doing the tournaments as like one collab, which is really cool for a streamer to be able to do that.
Aye.
Because that puts out more content. Because it was like Warzone Wednesdays, like Keemstar, all that kind of stuff that he ran. That's what Vicstar won, 4 times?
3 times out of the first 4 weeks.
Yeah.
He was making stacks of it playing.
It was crazy, but it's just cool to watch, because it's like when you're watching that. I remember watching the 3rd one that he won, and it was like, can we make it the trifecta here? Can we get this 3rd win? And the tenseness that I was feeling. I'm not, the controller's not in my hands, but watching that, I was sweating. Like,
these are guys that make it look easy as well. And one of the big things about COD, you'll never struggle for a player population. It's always got to be the biggest until the next one comes out. That being said, the player population on the current Call of Duty is that high. They haven't even announced it, and the new COD usually comes out in October? Usually around October. And they've not announced anything yet, which tells you how good this game's doing. So that would be my pitch for Call of Duty.
Mm.
I like it. I think...
Are you sold, Craig? That's maybe a good...
But
if you watched a bit first.
I have watched a bit. There's 2 things, right? I'm not denying the gameplay is sensational quality. And obviously the customization side of it's really good. It's a bit of a personal thing for me. I'm quite geeky in the sense when I play a game, I want it to be in a total fantasy world. I generally don't link well with games that can be seen to be almost believable to an extent. Yeah. I've always been like, it's just how I am. But the one thing that pisses me off, and it's why I've stopped buying FIFA games, is that I hate the mentality that you have to buy it every year. That does my head in. This Call of Duty looks like it's possibly one of the best ever made, especially the feedback of what streamers are doing, players are doing, and the number side of it tells the story. But
well,
the only way I'm going to play that, the only way I'm going to play that is if I jump in with used to it, and I'll probably really enjoy it. Is it a game I'm going to pick up and play my own? No, it's not.
Well, Warzone's free to play, so you know it's accessible. There's no reason you can't do that. The rest of the game, I understand, it's probably less appealing to you, but the Warzone, the fact that's probably the biggest element of the game, and it's free at the moment. And I think what you said about the games only coming out annually, games that don't do that aren't unsuccessful. Look at GTA, look at Skyrim, look at games like that. They've got huge fan bases.
I think that and if Activision is listening to this, right, I'm just going to tell you that if you use my idea, you need to give me £30 million or else. And I'm kidding. But if I think what they should do is they should keep Warzone in the next iteration
100%.
And just build on that. And
based
just
on how successful it is, they can't afford to leave it
because
out.
If they can just use Warzone as a tool and have Warzone the same in the next Call of Duty, leave everything the way it is, change the guns, change the map, but leave everything else, I think people would still play it, because it's not, people aren't playing it really for the map. They're not playing it for like the size of the map and that kind of stuff. It's not like it, because there is parts of the map that are just absolutely terrible. People are playing it because they like the gunplay, they like the pace, they like the armor system, they like the buy stations. If they keep everything like that and then put it into the next game, but if it is supposedly like it's meant to be set in the Cold War, it's still going to be unreal.
I'll tell you that I know we've spent far too long on COD, we'll move on quickly. My last point is that the problem with that is the lack of continuity, because it's not the same person that make, or not the same developers that make every Call of Duty. It goes to Treyarch, Infinity Ward, there's others, but yeah, so so the Modern Warfares might be the same, Black Ops might be the same, you know. Anyway, sorry, we spent too long on Call of Duty, but that's the pitch.
sorry. My second and last game we're going to be talking about is again, no shock, another single player game. And in my opinion was absolutely robbed of Game of the Year for 2018, and it's God of War. Again, something that I was able to stream. Thank you, Craig. But and again, something that really appeals to me with the whole Norse mythology and that kind of style. and probably one of the few things, because God of War 1, 2, 3, Ascension and Chains of Olympus, if I've got all of them so far, were very different styles of games. It was more like a button masher, and kind of like a platformer, because you used to have to kind of like go up and try and like do boss battles, and it would come up with like a button, like you had to mash square, and that was it. But with God of War in 2018, they retitled it just God of War, and they made it into a purely story-driven game that's done in one take, so there is no loading screens. It's all in one physical camera. From the minute you press X to play or start to play, it zooms in on a tree and Kratos walks into the screen, and from there
Wait. What's his name?
Kratos.
I was good. I was like Kratos. No way.
No, Kratos. He walks into the screen, and that's it. There is no loading screens. The only way there's a loading screen is if you travel somewhere or anything like that. But it is probably one of the most visually pleasing games to watch. It's done kind of more similar. It's like Skyrim. I was saying earlier, Tsushima was like really like gradual and stuff. With that one, you can go into different realms of like you can go into Niflheim, Muspelheim, everything like that. Like it's all like Norse mythology. So while like Vanaheim, for example, is like there's elves that live there, dark elves and light elves, and it's very like modern, kind of like Lord of the Rings elves kind of looking area.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Midgard, which is Earth pretty much, is very Earth looking. Loads of water, loads of grass, loads of rocks and stuff like that.
Quite drastic change of biomes, but fits with the
exactly. But it's
narrative.
like the way that they've separated it makes it really cool. And then, obviously, if you've ever seen any of the previous God of Wars or played in any of the previous God of Wars, you'll know that Kratos is a one-man army on a mission, and you could class him either as a god or demigod, and he has always been a lone wolf, whereas in this one, you find out that he has went to Midgard, had a wife, found a wife and had a son. You do not know anything about the wife, and the son's name is Atreus. And is it a spoiler if I say the main story?
Don't say that, just in case.
Okay, cool. It's been out a very long time, so if you've never played it, then I hate you. Craig and June.
Well, that's a good point. It's been out a while,
but just in case. But yeah, so the main story is centered around both you and your son, not just Kratos, and I think that it's probably one of the best stories out there, purely because it doesn't just deal with like one thing. It incorporates multiple different how would I put it without spoiler? Multiple different problems.
See, I was going to jump
Oh,
on
sorry,
you go.
on you go.
I was going to say, I think a game's good when you YouTube to watch the story because you can't play it. And I've done that with every God of War game and went, I should really get a PlayStation.
It's one of the games you think it would make a good movie.
Yeah, it'd be an awesome movie. And watching a mixture of Bundy's stream, I have watched the story fully on YouTube as well. You don't need to sell me in this game. It's me down to a T. This is where Bundy and I are very similar in the fact, we both love Norse mythology. We both love that sort of brutality in a game, and God of War's definitely got that. And we love that sort of offline story-driven game. So, mate, I'm sold. You don't need to sell it to me.
I think Bundy might be trying to sell you a console here, as opposed to a game.
No, but do you know what? I've always had Xbox. I had a PlayStation 3 towards the end of like the 360 PS3 kind of lifespan, because there was a couple of games I wanted to play in it, and I played them, and that was me. And then I sold it and got rid of it. But then PlayStation started coming out with bangers like Uncharted and God of War and just a Horizon Zero Dawn, everything like that, and I was like, oh my god. And then God of War came out, and I was like, well, That's me.
There's a bit of theme on the go here. I think you've got a secret sponsorship from PlayStation because there's quite a few episodes that you've been into PlayStation's exclusives.
I mean, if anyone from PlayStation, Sony, or Activision, or anyone that affiliated that would like to send me a new PlayStation 5,
just you,
then I will absolutely be a diehard fan of PlayStation evermore. Or on the flip side, if Microsoft are listening, Bill Gates, I see you. If you'd like to send me an Xbox Series X, I will also be a lifelong fan. So
obviously,
yeah.
Bill Gates, long-term fan of the show.
Yep. Bill, and don't forget Miranda.
Big Bill.
Oh, sorry, Miranda Gates.
the Bill, just for Bill, I think the work that the Bill and Miranda Foundation are doing are great. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Craig, hit me with your second game.
Sorry, I don't know how to follow that. My second game, I'm going to try keep it as tight to the game as possible because let's be honest, this franchise is going to be an episode. We've talked about it since we started the podcast. It's going to be an episode, so I'm going to try keep this just to the game. So if you guys can help me and not go too much into the franchise as a whole, that'd be great.
I don't know what this is, so hit me with it.
100%. He's ruled out Elder Scrolls. What's got to be left? What's the other thing that Craig dresses up as?
Right, there's a story to that, but that's not for podcast.
Save that for the Halo episode.
But mine's is Halo Reach. Most people say Halo 3 is their favourite game. Mine's is Halo Reach. I'm going to let that sink in because you can call me.
You're talking to two people who think Halo 3 is better.
Hey. One of us is an Imperial, okay?
I think I think it was just if I had played the campaign of Halo Reach at the point of Halo 3 and then Halo 3 after Halo Reach, I would have been Reach, but only because of the nostalgia and everything.
It's relative to when they come out. So you play them and how good they are at the time is...
And I know that Craig's going to be very angry, but like if you can tell us a bit about the Lone Wolf scenario, Craig, then I would very much appreciate that.
Lone Wolf isn't a thing in Halo Reach. It's a thing in Halo. So Halo Reach is set that you play Noble 6 and it's a part of a squad team that you get put together, and there's another 5, so there's 6 of you in total.
Yeah.
And it gives a story narrative for 6 Spartans. It's not just the Master Chief character of I don't say anything apart from when I do. It's really epic. This is a proper narrative game. So the way in which I want to sell it to you is one, it was the game, as much as I dwelled with other Halo games about multiplayer, etc., which we will touch on in a future episode, Halo Reach for me takes what Halo 3 done and adds to it. Doesn't take anything away, but adds to it. So in the state of Halo Reach's at launch, the online is to the same quality, if not better, than Halo 3. It's got customizable options, which was in the previous game, but brings it to a whole other level.
Yeah, that's true.
You can even go as far to customize your voice. You can customize the kill effect when you shoot a grunt in the head. It's nuts. The customizing option of it is absolutely brilliant. But we all know that Halo's known for its multiplayer, but it has one of the best stories in any game I've ever played. And you feel for every single character. There's no kind of character that lingers in the background that you don't get any sort of screen time with. Every one of them has a real story behind them. And the one thing that happens as well, and I'll not say how because it's spoilers to a game that was released in 2010, but all of them die. But they all die at different parts of the story. And it's absolutely incredible. Actually,
you do feel everyone, don't you?
Yeah, one of them doesn't die, which is Jun, who's the sniper guy.
Which is the exact opposite of Gears of War. When you think of it.
But there's one scene in it, and I think it's one of the best scenes I've ever played in any game period. And it's one of the biggest selling points for Halo Reach. And it's so at the end, you send the ship away that actually is containing Cortana. I'll not dwell into the story too much. But you're left to defend Reach as it's overrun by the Covenant. Yeah. And obviously it's first person, so you can see your visor. It's the usual screen. But you just get overrun with Covenant. And it doesn't matter how good your skill is. you do eventually die, and you actually see the damage that's happened to you, which you haven't seen throughout the game. Normally in Halo, obviously you get hit, your shield drops, you let it regenerate, but you actually see physical damage. So your visor starts cracking, your player starts to grow, well, Noble 6 starts to grow, and you can actually feel the gradualness of his death. And it's mental. You could be shit at Halo and die in the first 10 seconds, or you could play it for 10 minutes and then die. And it's such a strong story, because eventually you go to the floor and you see the ship flying away to safety. So you've managed in your mission to get Cortana off of Reach. But then you see all the Covenant ships flying over you. And in the very end sequence, it's your helmet. And it's your helmet quite recently after you died. And then it shows it like in the future with all the dust settled over it. And it's just such a powerful, powerful narrative. A couple other bits as well. Just the music again is phenomenal. In my personal opinion, it's not as good as 3. It's still really, really good. It's the same guy that does Halo Reach. I can't remember his name. Mike Bundy named it on one of our previous episodes. But, what's his name?
Come back.
I was going to say Mike O'Donnell, but I'm putting Marty O'Donnell and Mike Hingy on the set into one person. It's not Mike O'Donnell. It's anyway. Come back to it.
One thing I remember, Craig, is see what you were saying about that last scene. Remember the trailer for Reach? It came up, Remember Reach, and it was the Spartan getting onto a Covenant ship and putting the bomb in it, blowing it up, and then I remember the last part was where it zooms out on top of that one explosion to the whole world, and you see everything happening all over, explosions all over the world. It's quite a powerful one.
Yeah, there's even a scene. Do you know what? I'll just talk about it, and it's George is like one of the guys, and he's the typical big, massive strongman character.
Sorry, just to interject, I was actually right. It is Marty O'Donnell. It was him. Right. He done Destiny 2. Sorry. Right, anyway. But there's a scene. George is this big sort of tank guy that you expect to be Mr. Hardman, but he's actually a big, gentle giant. And there's a scene where you're on the space station, and I can't remember the full insight into it, but they have to activate this switch, which is going to cause the space station to self-destruct. They can't do it remotely. And he literally grabs you, this massive guy, picks you off your feet, and throws you out the space station and activates the switch, and you see it blow up above you, and you're like, holy shit, this is something else. But some things like that, the things I've wrote down here is obviously the end cutscene, the customization of it, the modes in it. Obviously it's got Forge, etc. It built on what was already in Halo 3. But I think the biggest thing is that it's really an online multiplayer game with a great story. And I think in this day and age, you don't get much of that. There's some great examples before, but and the big thing again, they do not hide anything. They do a lot of connections with lore. So a lot of the answers that you don't know from Halo 1 to 3, a lot of that gets answered through Halo Reach, like who are the Spartans, how were they created? Yeah. And for me, that online backed up with an absolutely epic story. It has to be my favourite. But guys, chip in. I've spoke quite a bit.
2 points to add on to it. I mean, one is that dropping hints. I remember in Halo ODST that what happened was they gave a hint with the logo, and it was the Destiny logo. And that was just, you didn't know what Destiny was at the time, so it kind of, you brushed over it, but I thought it was cool. They kind of dropped a hint as to what Bungie was doing next. The other thing was, and whereas Call of Duty is maybe 80% multiplayer modes and 20% campaign, Halo is one of the games that's quite easily 50-50. They're both as good as each other and as popular.
And it was probably one of the last games to do an actual proper online where you've got the ranked playlist, which is like skill based matchmaking, and then just the public playlist, which is just go in and just like fight whoever you want.
It was a really good send off, in my opinion. I know Halo Reach gets a lot of mixed opinion, but it's a simple fact is it's Halo 3 with a new story and more added to it, in my opinion. It doesn't play off the nostalgia. It doesn't set the standard that was made by Halo 3. All they do is reinforce that and add more to it. So that's why it's my favourite. And hopefully the campaign alone is enough for you if you haven't already. Pick it up, play it. It's incredible.
It's not expensive now.
And then we will find out what Ewan's last game is. Hit me with you.
So my last game's a bit different in that it's not a big AAA game. It's Supreme Commander 2, which was an Xbox 360 game, but it is backwards compatible, so you can still play it. what it is, it's a strategy game that, if done properly, can last hours in one match. It's ideal playing it with friends, but you can play it single player against the computer or multiplayer. There's a multitude of different units, factions, and different strategies you can use to win. It's just, in terms of strategy games, it's one of the best. I'd say it's one of the best because it's more complex than the likes of Halo Wars, but just as easy to learn and get into it. I think a good way to explain is it is easy to learn, but it's really difficult to master. So, as it was last on Xbox 360, you can pick it up very, very cheaply and just play it on your Xbox One if you want now. It's very good. I think, if I'm right in saying, it must have came out in mid to late 2000s.
1999.
No, it was a great game, and it was just that many cool units you could get. I can't remember the name of it. I think it was a super unit.
You got super Uber units and that kind of stuff as well, or something like that.
It was something like that, and that could be Halo Wars I'm thinking of. But anyway, it was these ridiculously designed units that were beyond powerful. They were huge. They were all really cool designs, and it was a great game. I loved playing it.
The scarabs.
My cat seems to approve of this as it's woke up and now actively rubbing itself against the microphone.
Nice. Oh well.
No,
I suppose that's approval. But I would recommend that to everyone. Strategy is a category that I don't feel gets much love, along with racing games. So I could have just as easily said the likes of Forza, for example, a game that I absolutely adore.
Grid.
I'll still get a Grid was good, but Forza was better.
Forza's now a PlayStation exclusive.
Is it?
Hi there, PlayStation.
Is it actually?
Yeah, it is.
Fuck Forza. Anyway, sorry, that was my second recommendation.
That's alright. I'm going to ask one other question and then we'll wrap it up from there because I don't want to go too long, even though we could spend hours talking about it.
Easily.
It's a bit of a difficult question, but I'm going to answer it first to give you two time to think. In fact, no, do you know what? No. So, if there is any honourable mentions, what are they? And I will answer it first. So I'm going to go with a really weird choice, but I played an honestly unhealthy, like very unhealthy amount of Fable. Like Fable 1, Fable 2, Fable 3, and it was like the whole kind of like art style was different at the time. The narration in terms of the story, because you would find out a lot in the cutscenes that it was the guy that used to narrate it, and his voice was always really cool. The whole Paragon, like kind of evil or good or bad, evil or like hope or whatever you want to call it, and how that impacted your character's actual look was really cool. Mm-hmm. Like if you were evil, you would grow horns and stuff. Your armour would turn black and all that kind of stuff. And then if you were good, you'd have a halo around your head. I used to always try and complete the main story as like a really noble, like everyone loves me kind of guy, and then as soon as I had completed the main mission, I'd just go and kill everyone and I'd just turn inherently evil. So I suppose Fable would probably be my honourable mention.
Cartoony narrative, but really quite a dark game.
100%. And then there used to be, it was kind of like Skyrim and Oblivion, where there's just some like glitches in the game that they never bothered removing because they were quite cool. Where like there was like one where you could increase your guy's size and damage, but if you put that on and then saved the game and then quit and then loaded it back up, your guy would just forever be massive. and it was just really cool because if you're wearing like the heavy armour and like the swords were quite large anyway, so it made them look kind of more natural. And then you could have like the horns. I never wore a helmet. I would have the horns sticking out my bald guy's head, and it would just be so cool. Your eyes would start to get really dark and go black and stuff. It was so cool. Craig, hit me with an honourable mention.
Can I quick fire some?
Yes.
Go for it.
Rather than one. Right, Rocket League, simple reason, I love it, and it's one of the few games I'm actually good at. Mm-hmm. And when I was younger, I can remember like mini clip games and stuff and free online games. Yeah. It used to be a game that you could drive cars and like football. It was like car football, and I thought this would make a great game. For me, Rocket League gameplay, I still play it to this day. I've been playing it since it came out. I've sad enough that I've bought it not only on Xbox, I've also bought it on PC and on Switch.
Happy with that.
Other ones going down the nostalgia route, we've probably touched it in previous episodes. One that you and I both love, Bundy, is the Spyro trilogy. Incredible, and it's that sort of nostalgia adventure side.
By the same measure, the Crash Bandicoot remake as well.
I've always been more a Spyro man just for the gameplay, but yeah, they kind of go hand in hand. Film games, one of the best games I played in the PlayStation 2 was the Return of the King game. Lord of the Rings Return of the King on PlayStation 2, absolutely phenomenal.
Amazing.
Another big shout out was actually Bounty Hunter on PlayStation 2. Star Wars Bounty Hunter is a really good game. And then for sort of more recent, I almost picked it as one of my picks, but the Gears of War franchise. I do believe that it's got worse now. I think they're toiling a little bit. Halo 4. Gears of War 4 was a bit of a car crash. 5 got a wee bit better, but it's not to the same level as the first three.
Definitely.
Yeah, they should have rebranded it as something else. But Gears of War franchise, I'd probably think of more. Big shout out to Warcraft as well. I used to play with a bunch of mates. You do need that as a way of life, though.
That was going to be one of mine, but it did come with the caveat if you have limitless time. If you're finished, I've got an alternative to that.
Before you do that, because Craig quick fired, it made me think of you, so I'm going to literally really quick fire.
Any minds that I've written down.
No, Guitar Hero. I really liked it. It was something really different, really cool at the time.
DJ Hero, if you're not into rock music,
or Rock Band, because it had the full instruments,
the drums and everything.
Guitar Hero World Tour also had a day. And then another one would be Predator Concrete Jungle. Really, really weird PlayStation 2 game where you literally played as the Predator from Aliens vs Predator, but you would run around New York slicing and dicing people.
Did you play the Alien vs Predator game and you could play as the Marines, the Predator and the Alien?
Yes. It was.
The graphics were terrible, but the gameplay was actually really good on
it. Predator Concrete Jungle was really good. It was very similar to that. And then the Incredible Hulk game, really, really good. It was just like one of the ones where you could just go around and you could throw tanks, you could pick up tanks, smash them together, and they would become like big metal fists and stuff like that. Really amazing. And then the last one, something really, really weird, but one that I really, really liked, was Time Splitters, which was on the GameCube. Time Splitters 2 was on the GameCube that I played. I don't know if it's on PlayStation as well. And I've actually just got another one as well, and you're going to be able to tell me the name here, I hope. It was like the racing game, and you had there was power-ups and you shot at people and stuff like that. Do you know? Oh my god.
I'm thinking Crash Tag Team Racing, but that's probably not it.
No, we have mentioned this on a different podcast. It was the racing game, and you could drive around, and you had different characters, and they had different cars with different weapons on them. You can
Cell Damage Overdrive. That was it. I remember
it was.
I've actually. You can get it on Xbox One now. It's hysterical. It's a great little game. In fact, we should stream playing that because it's hilarious.
Have you ever played it, Greg?
Yes, I have. But just remember, on the stream front, I've got a bit of a option for us, which I might ask you at the end.
Okay. Honourable mentions for me, like Craig said, World of Warcraft. But if you don't have a credit card and you don't want to do that, RuneScape, great alternative, similar principles to it, very easy to get into, not as good graphics, not as expansive a world, but equally good.
Unless you're Zezima.
We used to Zezima used to be on top of the leaderboards for RuneScape when we were at school, and we used to joke saying that was actually the librarian at the school. That was Zezima. A strange one, a sports game, NBA. Now, I'm into basketball, so I enjoy it anyway. However, when you compare NBA 2K20 to any other sports game like FIFA or NFL, you get free stuff most weeks. You get locker codes. You get
free stuff every day.
Pretty much, and you're able to get great teams in it by doing challenges without ever putting money into the game, which is one thing that really gets my back up about FIFA. How much you need to put into it to be competitive in the likes of Ultimate Team. On NBA, on my team, you don't need to do that. It's easily playable with no money, definitely. Dragon Age. I wasn't the biggest fan of Inquisition, but it's a great game if you're into Skyrim, but a bit more narrative focused, so it's a bit more along the lines of Fable. It's the balance between Fable and Skyrim. Right in the middle, I would say you get Dragon Age. Red Faction, but specifically I'm talking about the OG Red Faction for the PlayStation 2. That was just an incredibly fun game, especially if you're just doing... It was almost like multiplayer at times. You plug in 2 controllers, but it'd be a 6v6 against other characters.
We used to literally, me and you both sit in this exact room, and it would literally be split screen. And if one of us picked up a rocket launcher, the other one would look at the other one's screen and run. I know, and I remember at the time the CD I had on a lot of the time was Scooter. That's how long ago it was. Turok Evolution and the later Turok, which came out for the Xbox 360. Both bangers. Great single player games or multiplayer games if you play them like that, but quite good fun between first person shooter with dinosaurs.
Very good mix, isn't it?
It's an odd mix, but it's good fun. That's one of the only games I got the metal case for. Got it on the shelf somewhere. It was really cool. I like that one. That's probably it for my honourable mentions that are springing into my head at the moment, to be honest. Craig, before we wrap up, what were you going to mention?
Oh, so I had an idea because of this was Bundy's idea, this topic of the King of Games. I think it's quality. I think there's got more arms and legs to it than we're allowing. I think it would be a really good shout if we'd possibly done
part two,
or even my suggestion would be to do something, maybe live stream it on Twitch, because it is more of a gaming aspect, that we come on and host a call on Twitch and possibly have a couple of people on as well.
Yeah.
We could just do it. I can control the sort of backdrop. I could obviously add some images in when we're discussing things as well, which would be really cool.
These are the likes of Alex on for that guy with a lot of knowledge on games.
Alex or Dan or
Stan could tell you about games for the 90s.
And 80s and 70s and 60s.
I was being generous here.
I was going to say, I was born in the 90s, so were you two. But I thought that would be a really good shout. Because I know we kind of discussed it, maybe doing a separate sort of project for gaming as a whole, but I think this is such a good idea. It's so hard to cram and say just over an hour or whatever we're at.
Yeah.
It would be a really good shout if we maybe do it on Twitch. And like I said, if we have some discussion prior and work out what we're going to do, we can put some stuff together and I can actually control the stream and show imagery based upon what people are talking about.
Yeah. Plus, if we know we're doing that separately and it's not actually a podcast as such, no reason we can't run on for 3, 4, 10 hours.
Yeah, we could make it a whole thing. We could have some drinks and stuff. And
oh, really? Sounds good.
Not like us, but do you know what I mean? If it gets some good feedback and people want to get involved, it could be potential something that we could do, I don't know, as a special here and there, once every couple of months or once a month. I just, honestly, one day, all the episodes, I think this is an absolute brilliant idea and we can do more with it.
Definitely. I don't know if he's, but he stood up, he bowed and turned it into a dab.
Thank you. But yeah, like Craig said about the feedback, always remember the socials. Twitter is at Time and Podcast 1, or on Instagram it's time_in_podcast, or if you just type Time and Podcast, you'll see us there as well. iTunes, Spotify, yep, exactly. iTunes, Spotify, and Podbean to listen to this. If you can, tweet us or send us a message on Instagram and let us know what platform you're listening on, and let us know what you kind of think of the episodes and if there's anything that you'd want to discuss or anything at all that you want us to maybe do an actual episode on. Anything to add, Ewan?
One thing is that we were thinking of adding a section which we don't have a name for it yet, but a streamer feature whereby we'll speak to a streamer, the game that they stream, 1 to promote themselves, 2 to speak about a game, and then 3 it works both ways and that people on their stream will hear about us. So it just kind of grows the community a bit. So if you are a streamer and you're listening to this, get in touch and we can get you on the episode to talk about your stream.
Craig, anything to add?
Very similar to you, and I've been speaking to some guys on Instagram, some other podcasters. Firstly, thank you for the support. We are in just under 2 weeks, we're up at 109 followers. Nice. A lot of that is the podcast community, and I've been reaching out to some guys and following from the success of the Pod Wars episode. I think it'd be good maybe to collab with, say, a podcast maybe once a month or something, and kind of help share their story and vice versa with ourselves. Kind of similar to what Ewan's suggestion for Twitch. So
definitely.
One thing we did suggest as well. Sorry, we're rambling on a bit. One thing was that we are planning on releasing episodes separate just to our usual ones every week, which we'll be talking about how to podcast and our journey into learning how to do it, the mistakes we've made, changes we've made, things we've had to learn and stuff. just so anyone else who's wanting to start out can listen to this and, you know, build on it and maybe save some time and not make the same mistakes we have.
Yeah, like, it's great to see. One of the first things we said in our very first episode is we're all about this progression aspect. And just to give you guys an example, if you listen to, say, I think not just from the content side, but the travel and culture one, the actual audio quality wasn't fantastic. But we've changed the way in which we record, the way in which we operate. We've got a bit of structure now. And if you compare that to, say, our Elder Scrolls Skyrim episode from last week, the quality difference is second to none. And we're trying to work towards, obviously, looking at video quality, live features as well. And all of the guys have been great kind of picking up and just rolling with it, because we're not experts. We're not. But,
far from it.
No, but I think there's such a clear difference now when you look at
Definitely.
where we were, say, what's that, about 2 months ago now?
Yeah.
To where we are now. It's actually pretty scary, and we now have a brand and something that we're quite happy to share and really show the quality of what we can do. So good job, fellas.
Don't get me wrong, it's not just trial and error. Like, as Craig said, it's a great community, and other guys from different podcasts have helped us. So Pod Wars, for example, those guys were really useful. Let us pick their brains about their setups and how they actually go about recording, the software they use, that sort of thing.
Definitely, Eustace, Gary, and Evan, even though you weren't on the episode.
In fact, no, less Evan, more Justice and Gary.
Aye, but even Evan, we'll shout him out.
If he comes onto the Mandalorian episode, we'll let him away with it.
But if you're listening, then again, thank you for the tips, for the help. And then one final thing from me would be keep an eye on the Time in, hopefully now going to be Time in Plays Twitch channel for
Time in Gaming, what we've got to call it.
Time in Gaming, sorry.
Yeah, we're working that this week. Monday, me and
yeah.
you will put our heads together and get that sorted.
And then
It'll
be Ewan streaming Skyrim, Craig streaming any number of different games, to be honest. Maybe even a co-op Minecraft stream between me and Craig at some point.
we've got a realm ready.
You are invited, but I didn't think you would like Minecraft.
No, I'm going to join. I'm going to burn that fucking world to bits.
Thank you.
You will be banned.
You will be banned everywhere. Every building you have has got to have a dick appear on the side of it.
I would also just like to put a quick disclaimer in here. Me and Craig have asked Ewan to come into our creative world for the past 6 months, maybe more.
I've been asking him for years to go back and play it.
We're still
I'm
waiting.
always stuck. I'm a busy man between different games, training, and I don't really like Minecraft. Oh, come on, just
finish this fucking episode.
It's for kids
Last
anyway.
week I found out Bundy was an Imperial, and now you're saying you don't like Minecraft.
I know.
I'm done, boys.
Right. Anyway,
round it up.
the only other thing is just keep an eye on YouTube, because hopefully we're going to be putting up some more Scribble content, or
Yeah,
even
we'll do that this week, mate.
even some Jackpot games potentially as well. Always very fun. So that'll be a bit of a different one. But as I say, thank you for listening. Give us some feedback, and fuck the Stormcloaks.
Cheers.
Ewan, so what is your king of games?
Viva Pinata. Craig.
Roblox.
Oh my god.
Monday.
Dr. Kawashima's brain training.
Wow.
Oh no.